Yeah, I know I suck. I was editing. And so sorry about 9:07. So this means that we're going till 11 o'clock because we got to catch up with Steve Cook and get ready for things for Atlanta United 2. And I guess we're in a no dilly, no dally zone. 10 o'clock, we can whip around patent pending trademark coming unless Bart wants to defer and spend longer time talking about what happened last night with the U.S. men's national team. And so you have that chaos to get into. We have everything going on in and around all of the different divisions. So it's going to be, our traditional flying around and talking about things. And so we got that. We got all the stuff. Matty Cruz on the ones and twos. So stacked, packed, and racked. And what is it? I think that's what the air traffic controllers say. Stack them, pack them, and rack them. And so that's kind of where we are this morning. So whatever's on your mind as we get you ready for everything once again, we're out at 11 o'clock because of Atlanta United 2. Very, very busy weekend for us here at the network because of all the action that we got going on. High school tonight at 6 and 8. I was about to say 5:30, 7:30, but it's at 6 and 8. Lambert hosting Milton, boys and girls. Maddie and I will be up there for that. And so for like the 98th, I swear to God, the 98th Friday in a row, it's raining. And so we'll have that once again, 6 and 8, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com for those of you that haven't had the chance to catch up on it. And so that's where we have all of our live games this year. So you'll be able to follow along there and get things rolling in that regard. So busy night last night across the board. Obviously, a lot of brackets in sports that have nothing to do with soccer got blown up. And that's never a bad thing because we can sit there and go, yeah, my bracket stinks. Well, I didn't fill out one this year because I was so damn busy. I didn't even fill out a bracket this year. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. Morning, Ropes. Yeah, Bart. When Bart posts a, how do we phrase that? Like a jalapeno pepper or whatever it was, it was red. So that would be what's the red pepper? I always get those confused. Let me bring in Maddie. She knows more about this stuff than I do. Maddie, what's the red pepper? Is it just a red pepper? It doesn't have a specific name, does it?
I don't think it has a specific name.
Okay, so then when Bart posts the fact that he's going to have a red pepper for his spicy takes when it comes to the U.S. men's national team, and this is like last night after the match happened and even before Mexico took care of business with Panama, had a 3-0 lead and kind of cruised. No, pun unintentional. Did you get to watch any of the match last night?
Oh, I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
I watched the cluster absolute craziness that was that game. I remember it was me and my stepdad. We're sitting down there, we're watching it. We get to the end, and he has work in the morning, so he left at like 80th minute, or he left literally right before we tied it.
Of course.
He was like, I have to go to bed. I was like, all right, go to bed. So I'm sitting down there, and we somehow managed to tie it, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, oh my God, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, listen, even though it was a win, I mean, let's not discredit that it was not the best performance of the U.S. men's national team. It was very an underwhelming performance, at least for my opinion. Personally, I thought it really opened up wide when you brought in Haji Wright and Gio Reyna and Aronson. The fact that Aronson wasn't brought on sooner into the match, that kind of confused me a little bit. I don't understand why you wouldn't bring someone like that out onto the pitch because of how dynamic he is. But I really think adding Gio and Wright to that mix, and I tweeted it last night, I really think that they have a shot for being in that starting 11 against Mexico. I think they should be.
Yeah, and so it'll be that's part of the fun. And so we'll see what's going on there. I think we're going to have Bart on at 10 o'clock so that way he can let his red peppers breathe. So
yeah, sorry, I got into a little bit of a rant before.
Bart. No. Bart's like, Bart. We're trying to figure out the time for Bart. So if Bart comes on now, he's only got 15 minutes, and I don't think that's necessarily fair for Bart because I know that Bart with his red pepper. And thank you, Tom. See now, Tom, this. Yeah. See, Tom goes, there are a lot of red peppers, but I don't know which specific red pepper there is when it comes to the red pepper emoji that we see on the 280 character app. And so Tom doing the Lord's work this morning, or his Lord's work. Thai, bird's eye, jalapenos can be red, Belmore. Okay, great. There we go. Okay. David says a ripe jalapeno can be used for sriracha. If smoked, chipotle. Could also be a ripe serrano, which is what I would go with. Yeah, so look, I'm glad you guys know far more about red peppers than I do. I just saw the red pepper on Bart's conversation. He thought he might be a little spicy. So I think what we're going to try to do, if we have our friends at Beyond Goals at 10 o'clock, we'll have Bart on at 10, so that way he can vent and get it out of his system, because there are things to talk about. So we'll pause it there. Bart can go for a half hour, then we'll run like hell through everything else to get ready for 10 o'clock. So I think that will be the plan this morning, because and this way it gives Bart the chance to get riled up, fouled, just he's probably in a foul mood anyway. So okay, Bart's at 10 o'clock. We did have last night in Open Cup, we did have some how do we phrase? We had some activity. We had some activity last night in Open Cup, and traditionally the way that it works is it's like the basketball tournament. It literally is like the basketball tournament that's going on right now. If you don't have chaos one day, you're going to have it the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, Michigan Stars beat Steel City 1-0. NYCFC 2 beat FC Motown 3-0. Took a while. Chattanooga Red Wolves at Central High in Harrison, Tennessee, beat Brockton FC United 4-2. This game, it was 2-0. Then Chattanooga gets a red card with about 15 minutes to go. Brockton scores twice in the final 6 minutes to take it to extra time, and then added extra time. And it was 2 goals by Ropapa Mensah in the second period of extra time that gave Chattanooga the win. So, it was a long night for our friends in Harrison, Tennessee. South Carolina United Heat probably with the big upset of the night. They knocked off Crown Legacy on a 90+4 PK. So South Carolina United Heat at Mecklenburg beat Crown Legacy 1-0. It's probably the upset of the night. You had like interior decorators that are on this the team for South Carolina United Heat, and you had guys that don't have soccer as a day job. They went in to beat Crown Legacy last night 1-0. Murder Owls of Union Omaha won last night over Western Mass 4-0. Charlotte Independence went to Langhorne, Pennsylvania, and beat VE, otherwise known as Verengung Erzgebirge. God bless you. Won that one 2-0. Carolina Core, our friends at Carolina Core won 3-2. They beat Nova FC. Nova FC, here's your piece of trivia from Greensboro, North Carolina. Bill Hamid was in net last night for Nova FC, Northern Virginia FC. So Bill Hamid, we had a Bill Hamid sighting. And Carolina Core comes from that match down here to the Fraction this weekend on Sunday to take on Atlanta United 2. How tired will they be? That will be the question. 2:30 pregame, 3:03 kick, and they'll be on the network once again at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. Lubbock Matadors came from behind to beat Arizona Monsoon last night out of NISA 2-1. Colorado Rapids to beat Azteca FC 3-0, and Ventura County FC, otherwise known as Los Dos, beat Irvine Zeta 2-1. So 2 NISA sides, they got knocked out last night. So that was your chaos from the Thursday matches of the Open Cup. Now we have time to breathe before we find out what the second round matchups are. But Chattanooga had a long night. Crown Legacy goes away, and Carolina Core in a shootout got 3 past Bill Hamid. So that's where we are from what happened last night. What else? Were you just completely and totally locked in on the USMNT match, or was your head on a swivel looking at other things?
I had on the big screen, I had the U.S. men's national team, and then I also had like notifications going for March Madness because I did fill out a bracket.
Okay.
My team's still in. Someone that I know put South Carolina as their team to win, so their bracket's completely shot. And I was like,
oops.
Watching that, and then I was tuning in a little bit. Foot Mob is great. I was looking at some of the updated scores for the night, looking through and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty locked into U.S. men's national team. I had a feeling. I knew we were gonna tie it. I didn't know it was gonna be pretty, but I had a feeling. I was like, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
And
So save your thoughts on the national team till 10 o'clock.
Will do.
That's when Bart will come in and he will join us, and he will be uh, probably hotter than a raging Cajun. And we know how raging Cajuns can be. All right, so like I said, head on a swivel this morning. Like I said, we're out at 11 o'clock, and we'll go through everything in all the different divisions. Maddie will catch up with you in just a little bit.
I will return.
All right. Yes, she will. She always does, because she has the hands of God and can pretty much drift in whenever she wants. And so I figure when Bart drifts in, that's when Maddie will drift in, and we will have the chaos of all of that. Couple of pieces of news having to do with stuff overseas, and we did have action yesterday. Wales beat Finland; they get a place in the playoff final for the Euros against Poland. Leicester City. We have to keep an eye on this. John Percy at the Telegraph. Once again, we talk about violations of profit and sustainability. Leicester, keep an eye on Leicester now, because they are being called to the carpet for all of this. Being relegated. They're in the championship. They've been charged by the Premier League with an alleged breach of PSR. And Leicester, they're pretty hot. They're like the red pepper, green pepper hot. They're like the jalapeno habanero 3 Mile Island hot. That's how mad they are. The owners, King Power, remaining fully committed, but an issue of compliance with the rules is the issue. When their accounts are released, it's expected Leicester will have overshot the permitted £105 million of losses by a lot. Leicester feel they're being punished for ambition. So you have that going on with Leicester. So, and Leicester, here's Leicester's statement, by the way. Leicester is not going down quietly. Telegraph reported 2 weeks ago Leicester would be charged. 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it went down. Second in the championship, and they're supposed to publish their official accounts next week. Further losses taking them over 105. Last year, they announced record losses of $92.5 million for 21-22. So now they're going to have to come under pressure to raise funds with player sales before the end of the financial year, June 30. Look for guys like Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Mads Hermanson, James Justin, Harry Winks. They're going to be in the crosshairs for being picked up for pennies on the dollar. Here's what Leicester said. Leicester City is surprised at the actions the Premier League has taken today. The club is extremely disappointed that the Premier League has chosen to charge LCFC now, despite the club's efforts to engage constructively with the Premier League in relation to the matters that are subject to this charge, even though LCFC is not currently a Premier League club. LCFC remains willing and eager to engage constructively with the Premier League and the EFL to seek the proper resolution of any potential charges by the right bodies and at the right time. Club continues to take careful advice about its position and, if necessary, will continue to defend itself from any unlawful acts by the football authorities should they seek to exercise jurisdiction where they cannot do so, as occurred earlier this year, end quote. The delay in sanction is a consequence of the relegation taking place before the new rules were introduced at the Premier League's meeting the following at the end of last year. 20 clubs, including the 3 new promoted clubs, decided any PSR breaches had to be concluded within the same season of the relevant accounts being submitted. Earlier this month, it was revealed the Football League failed in an attempt to have a business plan imposed on Leicester amid concerns over their accounts this year. Premier League statement, they had theirs. It was another three paragraphs. Leicester City relegated to the championship prior to the introduction of the Premier League's new standard directions, which prescribe a timeline within which PSR cases should be heard. Therefore, the proceedings will be conducted in accordance with the timetable to be set by the commission, and its final decision will be published on the Premier League website. So a 9-year spell for Leicester ended in the Premier League last year, third from bottom. And so 9 games left in the championship season, return to action today with a matchup against Bristol City. So Leicester's basically saying, we weren't there, so you can't punish us. The rules weren't there, so you can't punish us. Premier League is like, bruh, you're eventually going to be a part of things, and you were a part of it when the rules were being made. So this is where you're going to get the massaging of all of this material. Leicester's going to say, look, the rules weren't in place, and we're in the championship, and we have extenuating circumstances. Premier League's like, well, you were in the Premier League. You overspent when you were in the Premier League. We were making new rules, and once in for a penny, you're in for a pound. Pardon the financial pun there. So you're looking at, yeah. So Leicester's pretty hot about it. We'll see what happens. Aston Villa have agreed to a £40 million shirt sponsorship deal with a Greek online betting firm, Betano, Betano. $20 million for the next for 2 years from next year, coinciding with the launch of the new Adidas kit. So twice the deal that Chinese online betting company BK8 currently has on the front. So you'll see Betano over the next 2 years on the front of the new Aston Villa jersey that they are rolling out with Adidas. By the way, did you see that the German national team is going away from Adidas? I mean, that's like what? That's like you're sitting there and, Waffle House trying to sit there and tell you that they're doing, French food or something. It's like we're gonna have croissants, and we're gonna have other fancy breakfast things, and we're gonna have really fancy silverware and all that kind of stuff. And folks going over there to eat instead of eating scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and topped. I mean, that's wild, man. Something you thought you would never see. So that's the intriguing part of all of that. I mean, when would you have ever thought that Germany would have sat there and gone, out the door, would not have figured that. So Tom, according to our friends at Football 365, Man City, and this is something that has also been mentioned in the past, that Manchester City faces expulsion from the Premier League after the Forest Commission set a major precedent. So Football 365 and our buddy Will Ford is saying that Manchester City could face expulsion, according to the 52-page report detailing why Nottingham Forest have been deducted 4 points. And so now you're a point away from safety. Forest were allowed permissible losses of $61 million because, once again, it was time in the championship and time in the Premier League. So it was a balance. It was you're hitting both aisles in the store. And so exceeded that threshold by a 3-year period by 60%, $34 million. Everton punished. And so now everybody's sitting there thinking, okay, Everton's been punished, and Nottingham Forest is mad. They've been punished. So what about Manchester City? 115 charges, for those of you that may not remember. And in February of 23, that was when the commission set to hear the case in autumn. Chelsea waiting to be charged, still with the financial misconduct attached to the Roman Abramovich era. And so if found guilty, the Blues' latest financial accounts now show £150 million have been set aside as Todd Boehly and Boehly Clearlake try to cover legal costs. 52-page report detailing Forest's wrongdoing suggests they could be expelled, meaning City, from the Premier League, ranging from a warning through to expulsion. I'm thinking it's going to be more toward the former than the latter. Where a PSR breach is minor, then it will be for other commissions to determine if any points deduction is necessary, appropriate, or proportionate. But if the breach is properly described as major, then it may be the case that even a very severe sanction, such as expulsion, is more appropriate. All I'm going to say is this: there will be billable hours, people. Manchester City, there will be billable hours. That is not in dispute. That is definitely not in dispute. You're going to have billable hours. You're going to have all kinds of, it's going to be lawyering to the 90th degree. Absolutely lawyering to the 90th degree. So that's going to be the, ooh, brother. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're going to be seeing all of that going on. So, yes, there will be billable hours. There will definitely be billable hours in all of this. So you got that going for you, which is nice. And, yeah, that's, look, I know that in as much as we continue to discuss things about Rhode Island, as we continue to discuss things about Manchester City, the Premier League, Everton, Forest, all of these folks, that the only folks really that are going to win are the lawyers. They are really the only ones that are going to win in this. And legitimately, and I'll ask this, and it, I will ask this because I think it's a fairly important question. But I mean, if we put all of our fandom aside, for a second, and we look at it through the normal tones that we look through these kinds of things, legitimately, what do we think is going to happen to Manchester City? Everton's at the bottom of the table. Nottingham Forest is at the bottom of the table. The Premier League is going to sit there and go, well, they're just at the bottom of the table. And I know that this is a point that both Tom and Ropes and our resident Nottingham Forest fans have made as well, and anybody at the bottom of the table. Do you really believe, legitimately, in your heart of hearts, putting your fandom to the side for your favorite club in the Premier League, that the Premier League is going to pull the trigger and expel Manchester City? Legitimately. Putting your fandom to the side, do you legitimately think they're going to expel Manchester City at the end of this? I don't think so. Too big for business. Manchester City is too big for business right now, for business in the Premier League. I don't think they're going to get pulled. I really don't. Really don't. And it might be a points deduction. It might be the one way that you assure that Jurgen Klopp gets a title in his last year as a coach. But I don't think that they're going to pull the trigger and expel Manchester City out of the Premier League. Yeah, Michael. Michael, as a resident Chelsea fan, who might be stuck in the situation coming up, but is Chelsea too big for business? Michael, nothing's going to happen to City, nothing. And in all caps, nothing, nothing, nothing. Abby, no way they'll expel Manchester City, as much as that Man U fan would like it to happen. Sure, you could sit there and have in the rules, morning, Dell. You could have in the rules anything and everything to sit there and go, well, perhaps, maybe, possibly. But, we'll see. It is 9:30. And so 9:30 traditionally on our Friday is where we have a segment where we talk to folks. And this particular individual that drifts in every once in a while on an alternating basis, we kind of joke with him as being a mogul in training. I don't think that he's in training anymore when it comes to his mogulness. And we'll get into that coming up in just a sec, because it's time for the Friday Free Kick. So, Cap, how you doing?
Morning, John. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Well, and the reason that I ask you this question is because of a particular moment. Now, let me see if I was able to do two things at once. I'm going to see if I can play a piece of tape to start off the segment, and perhaps have some memories come flooding back from the weekend past. And we'll see if I've actually done this correctly. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to BS my way through the particular highlight.
Here's Fusant whipping it across. Back post! There is the moment to put in a time capsule. Rhode Island on the board. A long wait for the first match in history, and a longer wait for the first goal in club history. Mark Doyle, etch your name in Rhode Island lore.
Courtesy of our friends at the USL Championship and YouTube. Congratulations, my friend. You're on the board at home.
Thank you. Well done, Mr. Technicality over there.
I am so not that.
Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. I was actually on a radio call at the time.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was on a radio call, so I got to call it with the play-by-play for the radio, which was fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. Does that tape exist anywhere?
It
That's
does.
my next question.
I'll shoot it over to you.
Oh, see now I'm gonna have to listen to this. Take me through that day, and I know obviously that night outside of the 90 minutes, we'll get into the 90 minutes coming up in just a bit, but take me into that day and what it was like to see the fire. Did you pay off the fire marshal to make sure that everybody that could get in, and even more people could get in?
Everybody got in. We lucked out. Mother Nature was great to us. We had a beautiful day, and everything went great. I mean, we had an investor brunch in the morning. Then we toured what will be the stadium and the stadium site, and saw the construction and the progress going on there. And then we headed over to the stadium, and I got there an hour and a half before kickoff, and we were shocked that there were people there already, tailgating and just gathering and playing hacky sack, and little kids playing in the parking lot. And it was an awesome day. Really, we had very little that went wrong. I think there were some people that didn't get there as early as we had suggested and struggled with traffic and parking and logistics, stuff like that. But we took care of them, I think. And so I think everybody had a really good time, and the team played really well. We hit the post twice in the first half, once in the second, I think. So we were super unlucky to be down 1-0. Honestly, we played really well, and obviously really excited that we got the goal. We're still looking for our first goal scorer, because they put that down correctly as an own goal. But so yeah, our official first goal was scored by the infamous OG. And honestly, we almost had the winner, if not for former Atlanta United player Alex Tambakis. We would have scored a few goals. He had a great game, particularly had a fantastic save in like the 94th minute.
Yeah, Tambakis has really turned into a bit of a troublemaker between the sticks and USL Championship, and you guys got to experience that firsthand. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with having the original gangster, the OG, being the guy that puts the ball in the back of the net for you. But now that you've had a couple days to kind of drift away from that home opener, and from being color commentator Michael Parkhurst and mogul in training Michael Parkhurst, with all these kinds of things, what have you learned about that day that you can carry forward with you, not just as someone who's invested, but someone who's invested in that process?
And just the amount of work and that goes in behind the scenes, and what it takes to actually pull off a game day. I don't know, the first game day was even more spectacles than hopefully games 2 through 17. But still, there's just so much. And it's just incredible that, the players just show up and play a game, and everything that goes on behind the scenes. And so, I think we're still collecting data and feedback from people to understand how their experience was, because we think it was great based off of what we heard and saw. But, we want to hear where we weren't great. But, I think just the tremendous amount of work, how important it is to have good people, hardworking people, and what a difference like friendly staff makes. We got a lot of comments about how friendly the staff was all around the stadium, and it makes such a big difference. It's little things. And I think we nailed that part on day one, which was really great.
Okay, so then let me spin this into mentoring when it comes to learning about what you and Greg are doing. When it comes to feedback that you guys get about what you're doing at Beyond Goals, where does the feedback come from about what you guys are doing? Does it come from parents, outside sources, choice D, all the above? When you guys are looking for feedback and feedback's coming in, whether you're looking for it or not, where does it come from?
Yeah, sometimes it comes from the athletes themselves. They'll shoot us a message or a video, or hey, a little message after a game excited about their performance or what happened. I'd say more often it comes from a parent who sees it and shoots us a message and lets us know what's going on and how it's helped and how they enjoyed it and what they got out of it and those types of things. Obviously every now and then we have to get some feedback from higher ups, athletic director type things. And so we just ask them directly. But I think that feedback's important, right? We like athletes are not perfect, and we're growing and learning and trying to be our best we can. But the feedback's always important.
So, when it comes to getting that feedback, yeah, you mentioned how important it is. And I think that whether you're a mentee or a mentor, it's taking it earnestly. I think that that's got to be part of the process where you don't take interpersonal feedback seriously if it's critical. And there are ways to be critical, but at the same time you can put it in a way where it's constructive criticism. And I think that that's a difficult balance and a delicate balance, because I know that sometimes there are folks that just are critical for the sake of being critical. They don't quite understand the idea of constructive criticism, and they just blurt it out and it just hits you like a hammer. And it takes a while, I think, for folks to understand the difference between just being blunt and being constructive when it comes to giving criticism. When it comes to just outside of Beyond Goals, do you see folks who are blunt and who are constructive? And is there more than one or the other? Do folks need to learn how to be more constructive than they are blunt these days?
Sometimes, yes. I've seen both inside and outside of soccer. And, it just goes to different leadership styles. And, I lean more towards the constructive criticism for sure.
You mean you're not like Bud Kilmer in the movies with John Voight, and you're sitting there, it's like you're hammering James Vanderbeek, with the Varsity Blues. You're not like that guy?
I don't know that show or what you're talking about, but no.
The Varsity Blues movie with James Vanderbeek?
Nope.
Okay, well then I'll probably have to send it to you. But okay, I'm trying to think. All right, so then let me see if I can find a reference that both you and I would get, maybe General Patton, like George C. Scott from Patton, where you're just kind of yelling at somebody and you just open the hairdryer out and it's just kind of like rah, one of those kinds of things. Did you ever see Patton?
No.
2 for 2.
There's a lot of movies. You could probably do a lot, John. My wife tells me all the time I've never seen anything. I don't understand any inside joke about anything.
Okay, there, and I know that it's a generational thing too, but there are folks who are hard asses, and that's just the word that I'll use. And they don't quite understand that being a hard ass, especially in today's world, that's not going to hit everybody. That's not going to hit everybody the same way. Some folks will sit there and they'll look at a hard ass and go, okay, yeah, bro, whatever. And then, you're just kind of like out the door.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to styles. So, I mean, are there folks that you still come across that are just like this drill instructor? Oh, Full Metal Jacket. Did you see that one?
No.
3 for 3.
I'm not even sure these are real movies.
Okay, true. But there are hard asses that are out there today, and they'll just yell at kids. And some kids, depending on their upbringing, some young adults may sit there and understand it in that frame of reference. But I think a lot of young athletes today will sit there, they'll get yelled at, they'll turn it off, and they'll head the other direction. It's like, yeah, bro, I'm out because I'm not going to put up with this stuff.
Yeah, and there's definitely a line. And, there's coaches that are hard asses because they've got a high expectation and they know the game really well. And there's hard asses because they don't know how to coach well, and they get frustrated when the players aren't playing well and not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're not being coached well. And then they get upset.
Yeah.
I was laughing at Alex's comment because about the IMG incubator, because I had a hard ass coach down in IMG.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids did not care for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was tremendous. I mean, he knew the game so well. Everybody knew that he knew the game really well and could teach so much. But he was a hard ass as well. And I think that some of it is developing some thick skin and blocking out some of the hard ass stuff so that you can actually take in the useful information, because he was one of the best coaches I ever had, and I learned a ton from. But he broke some kids, that's for sure.
Well, and I think that, you know, in this day and age, I think that breaking kids, you know, you run the risk of chasing them away from something that they love doing when you do that. And
Totally.
instead of just sitting there and bringing them along in the process, you know, you suck, and then you're just like, all right, fine, I must just suck, and then, you know, I'm out the door, and you're not doing. And the adult in the room ends up being the younger adult in this process, because you're not going to put up with that kind of stuff. You mentioned that you had a hard ass. I mean, how long did it take you to formulate who you are when it came to being a leader, and your style when it came to being a mentor? Was it being formulated with that time being subjected to the hard ass at IMG, and then after? How long did it take you to figure out who you were when it came to your leadership style and how you wanted to do things?
I think leadership as a captain of a team, it took me a while, just because I was quiet, and I actually had to bring it up a level, like to make sure that I held guys a little bit more accountable, rather than, you know, of being afraid that I was being too hard or anything. It was always, I needed to be harder and step up that way, versus tone it down a little bit. So that was where I had to mature a little bit in my growth. But the rest of it was, you know, just being more true to myself and understanding. And I think that's what made me a good leader on the field, was just connecting with guys and understanding that you can't be the same way with every player, and connecting, and understanding what they're going through, and how they see the game, and off the field and on the field and things like that. So yeah, it's a learning process for sure.
Did you ever have to dial somebody back, whether it was a teammate or a coach, or someone that you held in high regard, to sit there and it's like, you know, bruh, kind of come back to the rest of us a little bit? You're going,
John, that was like my second job at Atlanta United, was toning down Joseph the whole time.
like, bruh, dial it back.
Him and Leandro. Leandro, chill out a little bit, relax, you know, calm down.
Well, and, you know, first thing I would imagine when you're going to Joseph, it's like, bro, what's up with the hair? It's like, figure out a style, figure out a color scheme, and stick with it. You know, it's like, you don't have to be all over the place. I get the idea, but, you know, come up with something stylistically. But I mean, you know, and the fact that you're dialing teammates back and things like that, I would imagine, and I would think that also that what plays into that is your own upbringing, because you have the different nationalities and coming together, and how, you know, one nationality interprets a situation could be different from how another nationality, and how somebody else from a different continent, you know, dials up a situation. And so you, as a leader, have to take that into account as well, because not everybody is from the subdivision around the corner that you brought together to be a part of this club. I mean, you're talking different hemispheres and time zones and upbringings and all these kinds of things. That's gotta be a real challenge for someone who is the captain of a soccer team, with all of these different angles coming at you.
It's the beautiful game.
Beautiful
game. Unites us all. Yeah, and I think that, you know, in those instances, like, I'm learning too, right? I'm trying to tell Joseph to dial it down, because the way that he's portraying his emotion and his energy is just over the top, and can't happen within the group environment. But I also was learning at the same time of, like, how he sees things, and how he wants to hold the team to a high standard, and what he perceives as a high standard and what's not, and the emotion behind it. And, you know, the last thing you want to do is kill someone's emotion. So I never wanted Leandro to play like me, or Joseph to, you know, be down at my level, as far as stability, emotionally, right? Because there's some guys, and those are two of them, that they need that emotions in order to play, right? So you don't want to kill that, you know. So yeah, it's just understanding everybody's perspective a little bit, and trying to see how it all fits in. But that's what makes you teams unique.
So then, after Snowmageddon happened, and LGP gets the red, like in the 38th second of the match, Did you talk to him at the half? Did you say, bruh, we're out there freezing our butt off. You've got a red. We're down a man after like 9 minutes. I mean, can you recall that conversation publicly? Were there colorful metaphors exchanged?
I think I was too cold to say anything to Latch. Because I don't think that was Snowmageddon, right? That was the next year.
What was one of them? Okay, so
yeah, it was the next year, which actually that game was colder
Mm.
than Snowmageddon because it was so windy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's so cold. Oh my God. That was the coldest game I think I've ever played in.
And so, yeah, you're right. Snowmageddon was the orange ball fiasco. And then the
Mhm.
next year was when it was like 12 degrees below zero. And it looked great on television, but everybody had the dragon's breath. So no, you're right there.
Yeah. But yeah, in instances like that, yeah, there's absolutely a need to say something and to say, hey, you know, like that's why we talked about Serginho Dest, right? Same kind of instance. It's like, man, you're letting a lot of us down here. And it's one thing if like, you know, it's a second yellow and you catch somebody, it's like tough luck. Like those things happen, or it's a red card and it's like a little bit of an unlucky deal. Like I get it, right? It happens every now and then, but other instances where it's completely avoidable, like those are the ones like, hey, that's selfish right there. You're letting everybody down, a lot of people down, and that can't happen.
When it comes to being a mentor, does your tone change depending on the mentee? Are you a harder edged individual? Are you a harder edged version of yourself toward other mentees than you would be toward others, or do you have a uniform way of approaching things, and you talk to everybody in the same tone? Is it like that as a mentor, the same as it was as a captain?
I think that the mentees that I've been having conversations with for a long time,
Yeah.
I could be a little bit more direct because, I think that they understand where I'm coming from with everything a little bit better, right? So when I see something on film or we want to talk about something like, hey, this is just how it is, and I don't need to give a back explanation or anything like that. But I think starting up, for the most part, similar tone. Obviously with the older players, it's just a little different conversation and wording, but yeah, try and take the same tone in the beginning at least.
Have you ever really had to try to kick somebody in the pants?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Well, and I think that that's a good thing, though. I mean, because mentees want to come to learn, and the fact that you and Greg really haven't had the I'm not going to say the chance, but you haven't been in a situation where you've really had to dial it up and turn the hairdryer on and really get somebody to understand where you're coming from. I think that's huge because it goes back to what we're talking about with the stereotypic small town high school football coach who wants to yell, or the drill instructor that wants to yell to get a point across. I think that that's a good thing today, that you and Greg can sit there and keep that even keel and rub off on others, because if you're that way with your mentees, the mentee can sit there and it's like, yeah, I'm learning from Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza, and they're really cool about things. Sometimes they do have to be tough about it, but it's still that uniformed approach, and it's not yelling their heads off and they're coming after me and turning me off of what I'm trying to do. I think that that's clutch.
Yeah, and I think 95% of the mentees we speak with, we are doing the opposite, right? We're toning them down. Like, hey, you don't have to train that much. You don't have to be soccer 24/7. It's more that way than it is like, hey, you need to get out there and show that you love the game. Do a little bit more here.
Mm-hmm. We do have some rapid fire stuff. There we go. Casual Friday. See, Abby, of course. Abby getting to the hard hitting questions. What's the rest of the shirt say? It's Casual Friday. So
sure is.
No doubt about it. We have our resident Charleston Battery fan who is already.
I know. I see Dell over there
laying down the gauntlet for you. With the Battery and Rhode Island FC coming after things.
It's our next home game.
Yeah, see, I mean, then now this is going to be the interesting part. I want to find out, and I know that you'll be keeping these kinds of numbers, and you'll have folks there at Burn that will be keeping these numbers. about the number of visiting fans that make the trek to see what's going on at Rhode Island. I want to see now. Do they get like the 10% of the tickets? Do they get like that number? Do you put them like in the temporary stands up in the corner where they're having to get the worst seats available to try to yell their heads off?
To be honest, John, I don't even. There were a few New Mexico fans there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I said hello to them before the game. Really nice people. And I don't know where they were sitting during the game. I forgot to find out. No idea. But the stadium is pretty small, so
you put them on the hill with the Italian restaurants. Don't tell me different. You put them all the way out there, man.
You can see the game from up there. You're fine.
Rapid fire to kind of wrap things up here with you this morning. We got 7 minutes. Let's see. So Alex wants to know what you thought about Sasha Kljestan, making an appearance for the Des Moines Menace out west in Open Cup and coming in PKs to help them advance. What you think about Sasha?
Unbelievable. That's crazy to me. It seems like he had like a week notice. Like this conversation started a week or two ago, and coach was like, "Hey, can you play?" And he was like, "Actually, yeah, sure." Yeah. And then he shows up, and that turf looked brutal. I saw a couple of highlights from the game, and he had 120 minutes on that. I can barely stand for 120 minutes straight without my knees or back hurting. I can't believe he did, but good for him. Like, that's awesome.
If somebody called you up, like if FC Motown had called you up or something like that to be a part, and hey, we want you to be on our roster for Open Cup, you think you could dial it up for a couple of minutes and maybe some PKs?
Nope.
Really? Okay. So you'd have to be on the sidelines, styling and profiling in the golf shirt, yelling and pointing your fingers. I see how this goes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I was just asked recently about the TST tournament again.
Yeah.
If I could play for a team there, and I was like, guys, I wish I could, honestly. But who's covering my workers' comp?
Exactly. It ain't going to be the tournament. That's for damn sure. They're not going to do it. Dell and others want to know, did you fill out a bracket for March Madness, and how is it doing?
Yeah, I did fill out a bracket. Kentucky lost her last night. I had them winning a few games.
So you didn't have the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland University.
I know. My former teammate, Steve Clark, would be disappointed in that. But no, I did not have Oakland beating Kentucky. Other than that, I think I came through unscathed, maybe. I might have been. Oh, you know what? I think I had BYU beating Duquesne, so I lost that one. But that was it.
Oh, man.
So.
Yeah. For me, traditionally it's the 12-5s and the 6-11s that really help
I've
me
got
out.
Grand Canyon winning a couple games. That's my team that I know nothing about, that I thought, what? They're going to do it.
The Grand Canyon Antelopes. And Dan Marley used to be their head coach when they transitioned to Division I. Yeah, when they started up, Dan Marley was integral to It's like Jerry Colangelo, the owner of the Suns, was a part of that university and helping it get on its feet. And so they had Thunder Dan come in and be the head coach, and they did really well in the NAIA and D2. And now that they're D1, they're out on the WAC, and they're causing problems out there, and they finally made the tournament. Dell wants to know what book you're reading right now.
You know what? It's on the counter in the other room.
I was gonna say, what book has a bookmark in it right now?
It's a really good book too. Shoot. Kind of want to run and grab it, but that's all right. I don't know.
You got 4 minutes. Do you think you can run into the kitchen and get it?
I need 10 seconds.
Okay, so he's gonna go run and get his book and figure out, as you see the SDH scarf behind his chair, which is fantastic. The fact that it is a part of his office setup. So now Parky's got his earpieces back in. Hidden Potential from Adam Grant. Why this particular book, sir?
My wife was reading it, and I don't know why she found it. And she's like, I think this would be good for you and the mentoring. And I'm only 40 pages in, but it's really good.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be a really good book for me to understand and read. And I think I'll gain a lot from it.
Okay. And then Abby wants to know about what you thought, what happened last night. Bart Keeler from the Soccer for US PODs coming on after you at 10 o'clock. So what'd you think about the USMNT match last night, Mike?
Yeah, it's always disappointed when you give up a goal that early. It just throws the game plan out the window. You know, like all of a sudden, you know, Jamaica's like, all right, well, I'll sit back and take less chances. And I don't know, a 1-0 lead after 30 seconds just changes things. So honestly, I don't take that much from it. It's good that they fought back. I thought Miles looked pretty strong, so that was great. Obviously, he had a hand in the tying goal, and he almost
no, he had a head in the tying goal. If he had a hand,
true.
if he had a hand in the tying goal, we'd be talking about things like Maradona.
True. And then he almost had one in extra time as well. He had a header. So he looks good, which was great. But I mean, the field looks terrible. What are they doing? I
Brought
hate
grass
this.
into Jerry World, brother. That's what happens.
We played the Open Cup, not Open Cup. We played the Gold Cup semifinal there in 2013. It was the worst field I've ever played on. True story. So, because they took the turf. I don't know if the turf's down under that grass. Yeah. They took the turf up when we played there and just put the grass on top of whatever surface is under that, and it was brutal. So yeah, the field looked terrible. But anyways, you're going to play on terrible fields in CONCACAF. So I don't know.
Yeah, Herediano comes to mind. Yeah,
Haji Wright looks good when he came in, so that was nice.
Yeah, it's like Haji Wright. He's on his way to vacation, and he gets a phone call. It's like, Bruck, can you come and help us out?
I read about that too, and I'm like, his wife's a keeper. And I wonder, did she and the kid? I'm assuming he's got kids. I don't know. Did they continue on to Dubai without him? Did they, turn around and go back to the house?
I don't think you could, I don't think you can cancel that kind of a reservation and your plane tickets, can you? I don't think that close. It's like if you're at the airport and you get a phone call, you're not going to cancel. I would say, look, because if the boss is a keeper and she's like, yeah, you're at the airport, I would say, look, go enjoy the hotel, go enjoy Dubai, go enjoy the flight, enjoy what's going on. I'll catch up with you and enjoy it. That's basically how I would do it. I would sit there and it's like, look, you're fantastic. I love you. Go enjoy this. We can't cash out and get our money back. Just go enjoy Dubai.
His bonus checks for these games will more than cover his trip to Dubai. So I think they'll be all right.
No doubt. And Abby has posted for her avatar here.
I did see that earlier. Yeah.
Both of you wearing toques, by the way. So I'm imagining that this was not a summer picture that was taken with the two.
I think that was when they came out and played a game on the training field.
Man, that's wild. But yeah, that is not a summer picture. All right. So what else is going on with you and Greg and Beyond Goals? What's going on?
We've done a couple of video sessions with a bunch of kids, which have been really good. Just breaking down film, looking at things, and kids seem to really enjoy that aspect of things. So we're going to continue to do that a little bit here and there because if they enjoy it, we enjoy it. It's just watching film, and that's what I do now. Just as I watch games and I see things where I'm like, oh, that's a good play, or oh, that's something I wouldn't do. I'll just try and go clip it and save it and show kids later on.
Absolutely. At MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app, at BG Mentoring, Beyond Goals Mentoring. As always, Cap, it's great to see you every couple of weeks where we get to catch up with you and how things are growing, and not just your Rhode Island FC-ness and your mogulness, but what's going on there at Beyond Goals. Enjoy the rest of your casual Friday, my friend. Go get your breakfast, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. See you guys.
All right. That's Michael Parkhurst. He puts up with silly questions every other week. And it's great that Cap gets to hang out. And fantasy camp still happened. Unbelievable. Recovery times. You can go 120 minutes in the Open Cup with FC Motown. That's, but Romario got minutes for Jamaica last night. So I don't know if Romario would be when Romario's back. As we start hour number 2, once again in a no dilly, no dally zone for a solid half hour. See, now in the green room, Bart, before I brought him up on camera, Bart had like notes. And he's like a news anchor. He's like, he had this stack of notes, and you sit there and, the news anchor at the end of the broadcast, when you stack your scripts together and you put your scripts down to the right. That's what I saw from Bart Keeler, the Soccer for USPOD, before I brought him up on camera. I'm debating how to do this. And so I figure what I'll do is I will skip ahead in the story to this moment to start things off.
More chance. Pulisic will send it in. Into that near post. It comes through. And there's the equalizing goal. The U.S. have saved themselves in this Nations League at the death. Well, we talked about that near post. They needed a run at the near post. Miles Robinson, I think this is going to end up being an own goal when it's all said and done, but Miles Robinson beats his player to the near post with a flick on, and it ends up going past Andre Blake. There it is. Michael Hector, who has been outstanding tonight, knew nothing about it. Robinson to flick on, and you can see it there. But it was about getting to that near post and breaking up any chance to clear it.
And so, courtesy of our friends at CBS Sports Paramount Plus and CONCACAF, that was the equalizer at 90 plus 5 and then some that sent us to an extra 30. Haji Wright, who came from an airport in England, hit a plane. His family went one direction, I imagine. He went the other direction, I imagine, and scores to help the United States. Chris Whittingham and Tony Miola on the call. Bart, do you just want to go ahead and do an opening monologue?
I'll just say that we're crediting Miles Robinson with that goal.
Well, I mean, that was initially. Check your settings because you sound like you're in the background. Or boost your volume or something. Boost your volume. Or yell or something. Okay, you're a little better, yeah. So you might have to project a little bit.
I don't know why.
All right, yeah, right there. There it is.
All right, cool. My microphone volume was turned on really low. Sorry. First off, we are crediting Miles Robinson with that goal.
Well,
we do this because when he does, he may not play for Atlanta anymore. So when he does good things, we'll credit him. When he's not doing great things, it's Cincinnati's fault.
There you go.
So that's how this works now. But first about the game itself, it is very disappointing. To be honest, that was a very disappointing game from the U.S. men's national team. It was slow. It was unimaginative. It was, at its best, disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the worst of what Greg Berhalter ball is, and it is plotting. It is not even methodical because there wasn't thinking. It was just so disheartening to watch this team against a team in Jamaica that they should have beat. I tweeted it out before the game, somewhat sarcastically, but this Jamaica team did not have their best talent on it.
Mm-mm.
The best players, yes, some of them play in similar leagues to the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, you have some championship teams, championship players. You have Bobby D. Cordova-Reed, who's still playing the Premier League, but compare that. I mean, they're still using USL championship players,
Romario Williams, come
right.
on down.
Atlanta United's own. But they're still using championship and MLS level players to carry them, whereas the U.S. has a bulk of, just so much more immensely talented players. The fact that this game was not well in hand by halftime is a problem. And you can't skate around that. You can relish in the fact that we did win 3-1. You can relish in the fact that you scored 3 goals in the final, 32 minutes, if you will. But the reality is this was a disappointing performance, and a performance that if you want Greg Berhalter to be fired, you can point to this game and say, this is why he should be fired, because it was bad. It was bad. They were set up poorly. They made 0 tactical adjustments to actually fix the problems they were experiencing in the first half. They didn't fix anything during the game. And you got lucky. You got lucky to tie it at the end.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate here before Maddie hops in, because Maddie.
We should fire Greg before Mexico. I agree.
All right. So the point that you made has been a universal point, that giving up a goal in the first 30 seconds changes game state without question. I don't know what Joe Scally thought he saw. I don't know what Joe Scally thought he was doing. But he went toward the fire instead of trying to fight the fire off a set piece. He went toward the flames, and the ball ends up. And literally, you look at Scally in the ground level camera. Scally looks to his right, sees who he's supposed to mark. I guess checks distance and proximity. Then he focuses back on the ball coming into the 6. Takes 2 steps forward. That creates the space. That creates the header. That creates the goal. When you have a manager for Jamaica that is the former manager of the Icelandic national team, which bored an entire planet to tears with their game plan in the Euros, where basically we're just going to sit here, twiddle our thumbs, maybe trim our nails, watch Shogun and the Richard Hamilton original version, where it's like 9 hours of programming. We're just going to sit here. We're going to do all that stuff. We're going to call up Marta and bring all of the buses from the Laredo garage. I mean, you had anywhere from a line of 5 to a line of 7 or 8. When you have someone who tactically in Helmerson has about as much imagination as Rocky V when it comes to tactics, having a goal scored on you in the first 30 seconds plays right into his hands because he don't got to do nothing no more. And so it was up to the United States to try to bang on that door as much as they did. And they had opportunities in the first 85 minutes. I will get you this, but it played into Hjalmarsson's hands tactically because of who he is in his DNA. He ground that game to a halt, and scoring a goal 30 seconds in played right into his hands the entire time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to steal a line from Jason Longshore, who's an immensely smarter person than I am when it comes to evaluating soccer. Goals change games, right? That's his line. Goals change games. The problem is Greg Berhalter, as the other coach, then has to adjust. And there were no adjustments. But yeah, like, look, the goal was bad because you had Jedi Robinson loses a 1v1 because he just sticks his leg out to try to stop a throw in that goes to the attacker. Attacker crosses the ball. Scally sees a man who ends up, the man he sees first ends up darting to the penalty spot. The guy who scores the goal, Lee, ends up coming, they kind of swap places. So he didn't see that initially. He should. So he kind of gives us a really bad defensive moment there. Then you also have a Matt Turner who was not in good position to save the goal. The header came to him and he hit the ball while he was already back inside the sticks. That's not great. So that's also bad on Matt Turner. And all of this happens in the first, 30 seconds of the game, and the U.S. wasn't prepared. They weren't up for it. And again, this is just something that, as a coach, it's not your fault that a player misses an assignment or a player misses a 1v1, right? That's on the players. However, it is up to the coach. And I've had this problem with, I've said this about a coach that may coach at a club that I support a lot in my local setting. Sometimes it's up to the coach to get the players ready to play, get them literally ready to turn on the switch when that whistle blows to start the game. And this team looked a little, I don't know, not ready. That's just the best way I can describe it. They were passive, and they seemed passive throughout the rest of the game. They were letting Jamaica do things before they made decisions. Pass the ball. Okay, what's Jamaica doing? They weren't doing anything. They were in their block. And furthermore, the thing that annoyed me the most, and this is the biggest tactical adjustment tactical thing that Greg did or doesn't do, all 5 of our highest attackers are all in one line. That's it. So yes, when you're talking about Jamaica being able to drop into a 5 or 7 back, that makes it real easy when all the players that you're attacking are also on one single solitary line. There was no width across the field. It was just at the very top. And you had Musa trying to just pick out passes from the middle. It was terribly set up. And Greg Berhalter made 0 adjustments until he got lucky by having Gio Reyna on the bench and got lucky by having Haji Wright on the bench. And I'm sorry, John, you're laughing, but this is bad. You are the United States national soccer team. You have won this tournament twice, and you come out here and you look passive and unsure. And at the same time, if there's one thing you need to take from Mexico, one thing, Mexico plays like the hunter. They play like the hunter. When they have an opportunity to go beat a team, they smack them upside the head. And the U.S. had a chance to go beat a team to pulp last night, a team that didn't have two of their three best players, and everyone else after that is very much a second division player at best. Okay? And you let them dictate the match. Pathetic. Sorry, it is.
No,
That's a terrible mindset to have going into a game.
My smiles and my laughing are about how wound up you are. It is not about the actual content and what you.
I haven't even finished a whole cup of coffee. This is how wound up I'm.
This is what I'm saying. Jarrett's joined us for a fatal four-way. Maddie's next on the queue. Maddie, go.
Well, I think it's fitting that I have my coffee in my Ron Swanson mug to prove my displeasure. No, I mean, listen, I agree with you. I mean, listen, it was a win. We ended up coming into it, but that goal was by pure luck that we managed to do it. We have been banging down the door the entire time, and no one was able to finish. I think the right changes that Berhalter did do was bringing on Gio Reyna and Haji Wright. I think they really made a huge difference, especially Gio in the midfield. With what he was able to create and at least giving us more people forward, he did a great job with that. I think that is great, and I honestly think that Haji Wright and Gio Reyna should be starting against Mexico. They should be, because when they came on, the game opened up. Also, I will say, in discredit, why didn't Aronson come on sooner? Because he was outstanding. He is such a menace in the field, truly. That was the one thing that I was like kind of shaking my head with. I was like, whoa, wait, why you're bringing him on with like what 10 minutes remaining in the game? I don't know. Well,
so now Maddie and Bart are beside themselves. Bart,
well, one thing to Maddie's point, one thing you saw, especially in extra time, is Aronson basically caused both goals the U.S. scored by his pressure. And what he did was force Jamaica into a bad situation, either a bad pass or a mistouch. And Gio Reyna was also right there to close it down, win the ball back, and then, two great passes to Haji Wright to finish. And that's what I was talking about, is how passive the team was until some of these subs came on. And that's really, really, that's concerning.
Jarrett, for Bart, welcome.
Yeah, so I see everybody's got their is airing their grievances. I'm sorry we don't have the Festivus poll. It's
I know.
it's been put away. As someone who left their tree up past New Year's.
It's not that season.
No, but we can always pretend it is. I guess, what's your expectation for this weekend then? Assuming you don't get a team that decides to go full Iceland against you.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing you've always seen with this U.S. team, especially under Greg, is they do play up to their competition. And when it comes to playing Mexico, they are usually keyed up and ready to play. Mexico looked very confident last night. I know they weren't the typical Mexico they were used to. I mean, they gave up most possessions to Panama. We can talk about the second goal that they got and how it probably was offside, but it was one of those games where they looked like the team that was dictating how this match was going to play. And that's something that, again, when it feels like 87 years into the Greg Berhalter tenured, that we have not fully been able to do that against really good teams. I think Dempsey said on the broadcast last night, the last time this team has looked good is in the World Cup against England. Now, since then, obviously, you had a 3-0 and 2-0 drubbing in the Nations League last summer against Mexico and Canada, which is great. Fantastic. But we need to look like the best team in CONCACAF so that we can go be one of the better teams in the world. And when you look at this, not just even looking at the Mexico game on Sunday, but looking forward to Copa America in June and July, that's not a team that looks like it can compete. And I was very against keeping Greg Berhalter from the beginning, and he has done nothing since to convince me that he should stay on. And I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think you're in for a double negative. I don't think you're in a minority opinion. when it comes to, and I mean, there are a lot of us that will stipulate that we are not two-term guys. We are not two-term people when it comes to having coaches and rotations and those kinds of things. Let me ask you about Gio Reyna specifically. And in the, let's see, so he comes in at the half for Joe Scally, understandably so.
Oof, Joe Scally, bless his heart.
Yeah, that's definitely a bless his heart night. So Gio Reyna comes in, and by the 85th minute, he had played more minutes in a weekend for his national team than he has in his entirety for Nuno Espirito Santo at Nottingham Forest. There is somewhere a distinct difference and an explanation as to what is up with Team Gio, and I mean that in both the entourage that is surrounding him and is now a part of his universe, and the element that he is currently in the Premier League, and national team Gio Reyna. And I think that someone or somehow we have to figure out what in the wide world of sports the differences are when it comes to this individual that ended up being a catalyst for his national team in a must-win game in a situation where you're coming from behind and you have the moments that you have versus whatever is going on where he's not getting minutes. He got a new agent. He switched agents. The agent had a relationship and has a relationship with the owner of Nottingham Forest, Evangelinas Marinakis. He knocks on Marinakis' door. Hey, bruh, bring this guy in. And he's brought in, and he has done nothing but sit. 38 minutes in 3 appearances since he walked in the door. There has to be some kind of figuring out here what the difference is between the player Gio Reyna and the national team player Gio Reyna. There's something here that's not computing, and your spidey senses have to go up in a situation like this where you see what happened last night, and then you're going, okay, what's the difference? What the hell's going on, or what's not going on with what's going on in England?
I mean, these are great questions, John, because I think that's been the frustrating part for U.S. men's national team fans is, why is Gio not playing at all for any club? I mean, Dortmund didn't play him. Nottingham didn't play him. Sure, he came into the U.S. men's national team, but he did not start. And you do have to wonder why that was. And, to Maddie's point, Greg sure smartly brought him in. I don't know if it was smart or just the fact that was the obvious choice. He's great at making some obvious choices. But he is a player who is very frustrating to be a fan of because it does seem a little bit like all of his problems are self-inflicted to some degree. And he showed last night why we're so high on his talent and potential. Those 2 passes to Haji Wright didn't seem like super complicated things, but they were fantastic passes. And the fact that he got the weight right on a field that was very bad, the fact that he got he was able to thread it through 2 Jamaican defenders, which is something we weren't able to do all night. We were, I think that was, again, where you see the class of Gio Reyna. And because of that, we got 2 goals in extra time and we won 3-1. And it looks like a better scoreline than it actually was.
Yeah, and I think that's the key here, just because it is a better scoreline than it actually was.
I did predict 3-1 on the podcast earlier this week, but I thought it would be in regular time and we'd be up like 2-0 and Jamaica would get a cheap goal and then we'd get a third one. But hey, I was still right in that regard. Which is
all right. All right, hang on just a second. This is from Glenn Crooks. This is the first sourcing that we have of this particular piece of information. Crooksy is saying, per source close to the negotiations, Pro and the PSRA have reached a tentative agreement that will likely be put to a vote this weekend. No secondary sourcing on that yet. We'll see what happens, but that's the notes from Glenn Crooks. No reffing down here needed necessarily today, but just wanted to throw that out there with Glenn, that he literally has just posted that as of about 9 minutes ago. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if anybody backs up Crooksy when it comes to what he has on his 280 character app. Maddie Cruz for Bart, go.
Ooh, that's always interesting. New Pradio. Fun stuff. I also thought that breaking news is about Matt Edwards being signed for a short-term agreement. So
it could also apply. So yes,
we'll say that Matt Edwards for Atlanta United 2 was brought up for the first team this weekend. We'll be traveling to Toronto.
Yeah,
that's always fun.
You need those
always
reinforcements. Absolutely true.
Absolutely. I think I'm trying to think of like what to ask that isn't just like, because that game was just absolutely like, I mean, I don't even know words. Horrendous, awful.
Maddie has no words.
Horrendous, awful, chaotic, and that's what it was. Mm-hmm. But I think going into Mexico, Bart mentioned it, we always manage to come into the game when it's a team that we like. We rise to the occasion. Let's just say that. We rise to what that is. With a team like Mexico, with what we saw them against Panama, what are your expectations for that match? How do we combat a team like Mexico when we weren't able to really even get a goal until the last 30 seconds of stoppage time?
Man, this has been a segment with a lot of heavy sighs from Bart this morning.
Yeah, it's just because I think the answers still come down to me of a coach that's willing to make changes and not stick with what he thinks is going to be, because what's the line from Remember the Titans? It's like Novocaine, give it time, it'll always work. Mm-hmm. Well, Greg, you only have 90 minutes. We ain't got time to wait for the Novocaine to kick in or give us more Novocaine. And I think to Maddie's point, like that was, to me, the frustrating part was that it wasn't that it was that it took so long for us to find the equalizer, but it was just because we weren't trying really anything different. And there were, some personnel changes, sure, but the shape stayed the same. There was no fluid movement between players. Players seemed to get in their positions, stand there, wait for a pass. And instead of, little tweaks can happen where instead of having all 5 of your attackers on the very back line of the Jamaica, they allowed them to put 27 guys in front of the goal or however many. John, it felt like they were using about
I know. It literally looked like you had this sea of Jamaican jerseys. Yeah.
Is how do you bring players off of that line, right, to force Jamaica to either A, come find and defend you, or B, just give you more space in front of that line to operate. And there was just nothing. So is that a player issue? Maybe, we can call all of our players super dumb. Or you can look at the coach and say, why aren't you instructing them to do things differently when it was just, Greg Ball doing Greg Ball things?
Jarrett for Bart, go for
it. Look, I mean, I'm just for like the refereeing thing kind of overrode my brain because I don't think we talk enough, and not us, the 4 of us. I don't think we as like a hive mind in this sport in this country talk enough about the fact that they reached that basically the negotiators reached a tentative agreement, sent it for a vote, and it lost by like 98%. Mm-hmm. Don't talk enough about the fact that either they were determined to go into a work stoppage or the negotiators just did not do their job in the most amazing fashion possible. I guess you talked about Reyna, and that's where I wanted to go about it is, Bart, at what point, he's 21 years old now, at what point does somebody get in his ear and tell him, hey, your agent and your parents, you should just, you don't have to like never see them again, but maybe for your professional career, separate it from them, because at some point you're going to have to strike out on your own and do this on your own away from them, because right now it just feels very Chernobyl toxic that we're being around them.
Yeah, and I think absolutely the issue was going to Nottingham Forest, which is a not great team right now, but a team that didn't need Gio Reyna. They have talent, especially at Gio's position.
Yep.
So he was never going to be a starter anyway, unless he like somehow could blow the doors out midway through the season. And that was going to be tough, right? It didn't feel like Nottingham brought him in as this is a game changer piece. And that's where I wonder who is advising him, because surely you could find a club in one of, Netherlands, France, Spain, Italy who could use a player like Gio, who does make magic happen on the ball, and when he wants to, can be a very good ball recovery player. He's not going to press high and defend all the time, but he can win back balls when he wants to. And those are some things that I think for him, I want to know, is he considering these? And to your point, who's talking to him about it? Because it does seem like he's been given this advice of like, no, you deserve the best or whatever. And, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's something that a mom or dad says to a kid, not an agent saying, well, let's go where you feel, we can feel like you can start right away, or let's go to a place where you can elevate your stock to try to get back to this level. It didn't feel like those were the conversations had for Gio, at least that anyone's had with him recently.
So how different would your starting 11 be for the U.S. men's national team? And by the way, the Bleeding Bomb Pop kit, I actually like the Bleeding Bomb Pop kit.
I did too.
I like it. How different would your starting 11 be for this matchup against Mexico for all of the marbles in Jerry World? How different would your lineup be from the one that was started by 3GB last night?
Well, first off, the big change, obviously, is Sergiño Dest is going to start for Joe Scally. Now, that does not mean that Sergiño Dest would magically have marked those runners on the back post. We don't know that. But Joe Scally won't be starting. So there's one change. I don't think that there's too many changes to start with. I think the biggest one would be Malik sits for Gio if Gio is healthy enough to play 90 minutes. I think the other... Balogun, I think, is still your best striker. He's just not in form right now. So do you start Pepe or Wright? That's a great question. I don't know if Balogun's the guy to start against Mexico right now, but we'll see. I would consider those, but I think everything else is pretty similar. I mean, I would even say you stick with Miles and Richards, center back. And obviously, I think Musa and McKinney probably can keep their spots in the midfield. Although if Johnny can go 90 minutes, I would play Johnny. And that was actually something that I do if I can take this in a completely different direction. A decision that I thought Greg actually messed up really badly last night is playing Tyler Adams. At least subbing him in regular time. Because
I mean, he was on a pitch count. I mean,
we knew that he was on a minutes restriction, but also, I'm sorry, I love Tyler Adams as a person and a player, but when you're down a goal, Tyler Adams is not the guy to bring you back from a goal. And I thought you had Johnny on the bench, who is a much better passer than Tyler Adams. And when, at the end there, when Tyler's the guy trying to orchestrate an offense and play quarterback from the back line, that's not where Tyler Adams is good. And I think that was a big miss from Greg. And I think that had you put Johnny on, you would have had another good passer. Also, Musa's a great player, but passing is not his strongest suit. And again, I think Johnny is a better passer from those deeper positions than both of those guys. So I think that was a mistake, because you could have easily, if you're Greg and you're thinking, okay, we tie it and we get a goal, right? That's your obvious thought process is, you do have to look on the positive side of that. Well, then you can take Johnny out and put Tyler on. You know what I'm saying? Because both of them seem to be on minutes restrictions, but I think putting Johnny on first in regular time to be a better passer, be a better connector, be a better offensive tool, because that's what you needed right there. Jamaica was not trying to attack. And if they were going long, and it was just going to be Miles and Chris dealing with it. And Johnny can, go back and help and get the ball after the initial, header or whatever. So I just thought that was a very bad mistake from Greg. That said, the whole Greg Tyler thing, and when he got subbed out, that's Tyler being upset, but Greg having to be a little bit of the adult in the room and say, well, buddy, you can only play this many minutes.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want Andoni Iraola to sit there and buzz me and send me a text. It's like,
exactly.
Bro, you played him for 45, you played him for 39 minutes. I'm mad,
right. Yeah. And look, I think if you're Tyler, you probably think you can go far longer. That's fine. That's your job as an athlete. I think maybe if I were Greg, I would have tried to wait till get through the first period of extra time. But it was one of those where I think he was going to be pulled regardless. He wasn't going to play that much. He definitely wasn't going to finish extra time. So I just think it was really a bad decision to bring him on in regulation when Johnny is a better player for the situation we were in. But again, that's Greg Berhalter.
All right. So obviously you're coming back on Monday for your normal visit. Where are you watching things on Sunday?
I'll be at Fido with the American Outlaws. Fido Midtown. Hopefully it's packed. It's a Mexico game. It usually does pack out for those games. We had a full house last night. We had to bring in extra tables and chairs in the back room to fit everyone. So hopefully more on Sunday.
No doubt about it.
9:15. They can't give us this. They still got to give us these late kickoffs, John. I don't know why CONCACAF hates us so much.
Yeah, I don't know why either. Because if you're at 9:15, then that means that you're kind of monopolizing the East Coast time zones when it comes to your late prime. But I don't know. It started at 8.
I don't know. It's a Sunday, so you didn't. I just, in my opinion, it's a Sunday. So why not start? The early game starts at 6:15, which is 5:15 local. You could have started that one at 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the late game starts at 7, which is a perfect time on a Sunday evening. But CONCACAF doesn't ask me these things. As much as Greg makes stupid decisions, CONCACAF makes even stupider decisions. So.
Victor Montaliani does not have our Bart Keeler on speed dial, and he needs
No,
to.
he doesn't. I don't know. I would solve a lot of problems for him.
Yes, you would. Go ahead and finish your cup of coffee, sir. It was great to have you on, and great to have you fired up as always. Because, like I said, when you post a red pepper emoji on your Twitters, we know that you're going to be slightly elevated in your emotions.
Speaking of,
yes.
I'm mad. We're getting a Nando's here in Atlanta, and Bukayo Saka has a special sauce with Nando's right now in the UK, but unfortunately, it's only through the end of the season, and the Nando's in Atlanta will be opening after that. So I won't get the Bukayo Saka special sauce at Nando's when it opens here.
we gotta figure out how to
we got to do a live hit at Nando's. That's what we got to do, John.
Well, that and the Nando's overseas, so you can get your Saka sauce and then
we'll see.
Bring it over. See if they've got it on Amazon. Enjoy your weekend, my friend. Look like just make sure that you finish your second cup of coffee. As always, great to have you on. We'll catch up with you Monday. We'll talk about things, and I know that you'll be mad about some things. I'm fairly certain, but hopefully the U.S. can come out the other side and be.
I'm gonna try to not be mad about my local club team this upcoming weekend. I'm gonna try to not be mad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 7 dudes that are not playing. We're getting into that coming up in just a little bit.
Exactly. That's why I'm gonna try to not be mad.
Yeah, there you go. You good, Bart. We'll see you
y'all.
Monday. All right, so that's Bart. He's gonna drink his coffee. All right, now. It is. Ropes. Bart is one who is more than happy to show his support for his country. So yeah, Ropes caught that red, white, and blue nail polish. Nicely done there. Good vision by Ropes, and not a surprise that Bart would be that dialed in. All right, weekend whip around for 25 minutes, and we'll start off in Major League Soccer. We'll go ahead and start off with Atlanta United and the traveling north, where the guys in the traveling party, I'm trying to avoid making a Donner Pass reference, but apparently they're flying into the T-Dot today at Pearson, a high of 29, a low of 22, 3 to 5 inches of snow expected in the T-Dot, and tomorrow the weather should be in the mid-30s at the heat of the day, so it's probably going to be high 20s by kick, 7:40 on Apple TV. Matthew Edwards, Maddie mentioned short-term agreement. So Matthew Edwards will be making the trip to be there to help out Gonzalo Pineda and the guys. What are you anticipating for a match that does not have Gregerson, Yakimakis, Fortune, Sleesh, Abram, and who am I missing? Caleb, and what's the
Almada.
7th? And Thiago Almada, of course. So with those 7 not being a part of the equation, Jarrett, what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, you needed Edwards to have another body, just to deal with what you have to deal with. The weather's going to make it so much worse. I don't know that we'll get an orange ball extravaganza.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what condition the field's in. We'll see what the conditions are in the lead up. It might be one of those games where the field is fine and we just have, snow drifts on the side like they had in Vermont the other night for the Vermont Green game.
Right.
But I'm assuming, and what's going to be interesting about this is the knock-on effects is we'll see what they look like Saturday, and then we'll see who's available Sunday for the twos.
Correct.
Because if the weather is really bad, like if the roads are shot, like, there's no guarantee that they'd be able to get back
Mhm.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Not that you would necessarily, I don't know, man. Some of those kids can bounce back, but you'd be talking about finishing the game at 9:30,
Yep.
roughly local time,
Mm-hmm.
getting on a plane, flying down here, and then you have a 3 p.m. game Sunday. That's tough if you're asking those kids to do that. I'm imagining that it would be Cobb and Edwards going. Even I guess just in that sense, you'd take Cobb. I mean, a part of me thinks you'd take Cobb and Morales with you.
Yeah, I was thinking if you take Cobb, Ephra, Edwards, Aiden, Nick, Luke.
Yeah, Nick will. I would imagine Nick starts, and this will be interesting because, like, and I know some of y'all have watched the twos. Some of y'all watched Nick last year. Nick's gonna play that position differently. He's not Tiago.
Yeah.
He is more goal dangerous, and he wants to be more goal dangerous. He can play other people in, but he's not Tiago. He's in just in the sense that he's not the same kind of player.
Right.
That's okay. But yeah, man, this is trying to think of, like, you have Saba, you have Shande.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have Daniel Rios, who sounds like he'll be ready to give you at least something.
In the Edwin Mosqueda role in the middle. Just give me 20 minutes and run around.
Late in the game, sure, especially when it's cold and everyone's tired.
Yes.
Let Edwin do Edwin things, but you have your wingers who have been really good. I wrote about Saba this week. Saba, we talked to Gonzo about it after the game last week. Saba's defensive work has been really good.
Yes.
And you'll want that because, and not even like to force those turnovers deep in the attacking end / their defending end to try and force those, counter pressing turnovers, but just being able to close guys down against a team like this or against a team like you did against Orlando. One of the things you'll want, though, is to have those guys closing down the ball getting turned over, and it keeps them from playing that long ball. It keeps them from playing quick over the top, trying to play in either the Italians or Akinola or whoever the hell they put up at striker. You want to be able to provide that pressure of, we turned it over. Okay, close him down. Don't let him get his foot. Don't let them get their foot on it, take a touch, and then be able to bomb it. Because if you can do that, if you can pressure them, make them make 1 or 2 passes by the time they want to play that long ball, you're in a situation where your back line is reorganized. I'd imagine it's going to be Tristan and Dax in the middle.
Yeah.
At that point, you have the ability to get reorganized. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not just forcing those turnovers, those pressures that guys like Shande and Saba have done, and just the hard work they do up top, even out of possession, but it's protecting your back line in a sense. You're giving them time to get organized, to identify markers, because it's going to be interesting because you are going up against a team that is going to be missing some guys too, but they're going to want to hit you on. They're not necessarily going to dominate the ball. They're okay not. Like, you watch some of John Herdsman's teams in Canada, they're not necessarily going to dominate it. So you're going to have to find ways to keep them from playing those guys in and being dangerous in those moments. It'll be tricky. And this is why those 2 games you had at home were so important. Because you were at home, you were playing teams coming off CONCACAF Champions Cup games. You had to win those games. And you did. You have done your job. You lost a close game. You started the year, you lost a close game to the defending champions, who look like they might be the best team in the continent, arguably. Like, right now, Columbus looks like they can run with those teams in Liga MX. You lost to them because your goalkeeper had a great game and you looked better in the second half. Okay, fine. Build off that. You won 2 games. You had to win. This one, if this goes against you, I'm not overly concerned.
Yeah.
Just because to Michael's point, you were missing so much.
Yep. No
but
doubt.
It will be very interesting.
Yes, that is
Carry
true.
on.
Matty Cruz, early thoughts, Atlanta and Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup because, you don't have those key players, but I don't think – I think you have so much talent coming up from the twos as well. It's still a very, very strong team that you have. but you're also going up against a Toronto side that has also been very good. So I don't know how it's going to go, but I mean, I think it could be a really good game. I'm excited to see what what the other players do given this opportunity. I'm excited to see what happens. I think it's going to be a good fight, though. I don't think it's going to be one of those things of we're going to lose badly. Now, if I say that and we end up losing 5-0, then don't come to me in the inbox, all right? Don't do this to me. But yeah, I mean, I think this stuff happens. You know, national team call-ups happen all the time. We just have a lot more call-ups because a lot of our players are needed for national team duty. That's a great thing to have. It's great to have. You have that experience. It does suck, you know, when you're going on a road game, but I mean, I don't think that we should diminish the performance because we don't have Giacomakis, Almada, Wiley. We have players who can step up and who can be those key positions, and they have played well. So I'm excited.
Apparently now Environment Canada has issued a snowfall warning for the Golden Horseshoe.
Nice.
Forecasting up to
Lovely.
5.9 inches of snow. Basically, up to 6 inches of snow, what we knew. Snowfall is expected to start lightly in the morning, but intensify in the afternoon or evening before tapering off late at night. The drive home from work is going to be a mess, and I believe that is the exact time when the flight that contains Mike and Jason and a team is going to be landing at Pearson Airport. So they're going to be landing right then.
Here's the thing, though, we do have to remember, because I think we get into a habit of thinking about these things from a Georgia perspective.
Oh, no question.
Just so everybody's aware, Canada's used to snow.
Yes, they are.
They'll be able to clear the roads. They'll be able to solve the roads. It's just going to be cold, and it's going to suck for everyone involved.
Yes. And the final approach into Pearson by this plane, I would probably, if you're not into looking at very cold weather and a lot of stuff happening outside your window, I might probably suggest that you pull your shade down so you're just focused more on landing as opposed to staring at what's going on outside.
Yeah, there's a couple of airports like that in the world where you just don't look out. Don't look out.
No.
It's okay. Don't think about it.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. So I anticipating just, you know, in a off the top of my head kind of a thing, lineup, it would be from the back. It'll be Brad, Ronald, probably Noah and Derek and Brooks at the back.
I would imagine. Edwards may factor in at some point in all of this. Look, this is why you got Dax.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is.
Yeah. Dax is.
This is why you brought Dax in.
Mm-hmm.
And you told him probably when you're coming in, hey, look, we have Slish, we have Muyamba, we have Jay Fortune, who very much looks more and more like he belongs.
Yep.
So, man, look, there's going to be limited minutes for you. I know you're at the end of your career. Come on in. Let's see if we can get you one more trophy before you hang up a banner career. Mm-hmm. But there are going to be times when I really do need you. And these are going to be one of those times where I'm going to need your hashtag veteran presence on the field, in that midfield.
Yep.
And, yeah, you see what he can give you. Yeah, Nick, your wings will probably be the same. I imagine it will be Jamal up top.
Yep.
So long as Jamal doesn't concuss himself at some point along the line.
But once again, that's why you've got, you figure Shande on the left, Jamal in the middle, Saba on the right. But coming with you on the trip, it's Mosqueda and Tyler and Rios and Nick, who's probably going to be behind you in the midfield. So it would be Nick and Dax and Muyumba in the midfield. So that's why you build the roster. That's why Carlos and the staff have built the roster in this way to be prepared for multiple competitions and build the academy the way they have. So you can have guys coming up, guys that are your depth pieces coming in for spot starts to be ready for situations like this.
Yeah. And putting together that back line is going to be interesting because I know some of y'all have watched the twos that Noah's looked more confident.
Yeah.
Ephraim Morales, ever since he switched to being a full-time center back, looks more confident. he's just a very large human being is the thing. Like,
Yes.
to the point where, like, I wondered, it's like, when you play DC, do you take Efra with you? Just in case. Because, yeah, Stian Gregerson is 6'5".
Yes.
Stian Gregerson looked at me in the locker room one day and double took. It's like, oh, another one.
Yes. I'm not alone
Hello,
here.
comrade.
Yes.
Fellow tall person.
Yes. Hello, fellow tall person.
Oh. But Efra's every bit of 6'3". Maybe you take him with you to do a Benteke. We're just going to take a series of lighthouses up to Audi Field when we have to do that.
Hey, that's exactly what you're doing. And, make sure that the Chincoteague ponies have a place to run toward. So I think a lot of folks are looking at get a point and get out of town. I'm here only so I don't get fined.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how it breaks out, like if you pull a Jamaica and you do something early,
literally,
then you want to terrorize the Canadian national team's coach, go for it, man.
Yep. Ropes is wondering if we can get Jamal one of those water polo helmets like Petr Cech.
Who was oh my God. Who was it who played for Minnesota last? He played for Minnesota last. I think he played for Columbus before that. Who was the defender who wore one of those?
Oh, God. I was thinking of Elliot Panico, the keeper in Nashville myself.
He does, yeah, but God, let's see. Hold on.
As Jarrett fishes for that information quickly.
I'm trying to think who it was. There was a defender from Minnesota who wore one. Oh, it was Iko Para.
Yes.
Iko Para wore one of those. And it's a concussion.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a concussion headpiece.
Yes, it is. All right. So kickoff a little after 7, and 7:10 will be on our friends at Apple TV Plus. Find a way. There is a way that you can sync up the audio of Mike and Jason to your Apple broadcast. I think it has to go through. I think it goes through Rabbit Ears as opposed to the Odyssey app. So if you have a radio tuner, I think there's a way that you can get it closer to the 40 seconds that you're traditionally off listening through the Odyssey app and for the broadcast, since Apple has yet to figure out a road radio option. Hello, Apple. If you would please present that kind of an option going forward. All right. We got 10 minutes before we jump to catch up with Steve Cook and get ready for Atlanta United 2 offline. So Abby letting us, Ropes, it was Iko Para. And Abby with the link to gamebreaker.com for the soft padded soccer headgear. All right. Let's run through.
Related.
Yeah.
Where did you get your 2 scarf? Every time we're on the morning show, I see it in the background and I want one. That one.
Which one?
The 2s.
This one here?
Yeah.
Where did I get this one? I think, did Abby give that one to me? I think Abby gave that one to me. I think that's where that came from.
I want 2s merch so badly.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah, and then I have also Fanatics at one point actually had 2 scarves that you could pick up on Fanatics, and so I don't know how accurate that is now, but they've done it. All right, so yesterday Jarrett got to listen to Cliffhanger with our buddy Nico Moreno. So I will roll through the juice boxes as we know them and get you ready for the activity here in Major League Soccer. If there's a match that either of you want to talk about specifically, give me the greatest hits and we'll keep going. Basically, I'm going to roll Cliffhanger. I'm going to give numbers. And then if you guys want to say something, go stop. Give me a quick soundbite and then we'll keep going. 2:00, 2 matches. Revs hosting the Fire. The Revs are a -114. Chicago's a +277. Make sure that the wind in Foxborough is not matching the wind on the waterfront. Red Bulls hosting Messi and Friends. No Lionel Messi, which means that Messi and Friends are the and Friends. The and Friends are a +211 on the road at Harrison, New Jersey, going up against Red Bulls at a +120. 7:30s, and this is where our buddy Kevin Egan gets to pick up business. It'll be a busy night for them. 7:30, Charlotte hosting Crew. Crew a road favorite at a +146. If you've missed the feature that is on Jessica Charman from our friends at Spectrum News in Charlotte, go watch it. It's on her social media. FC Cincinnati, NYC. FC Cincinnati's a -116. NYC's a +317. Purple team hosting Austin FC. Big favorite at a -169. Austin is a +436 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Toronto, understandably, they are a +125. They're on the plus side at a +125. Favorite.
That's a trap.
Yeah, Atlanta's a +200, and your draw is a plus 260. So you got that. Home game in Vancouver, as are the international nightmare of Vanni Sartini's suspension has been curbed to time served. Vancouver, a minus 128 at BC Place, hosting RSL at a plus 322. Sporting at 8:30, hosting LAG in what might be the match of the night. Sporting a minus 110 at home. LAG's a plus 257 with their P3 protein pack of Puig, Paintsel, and Peck. Draws a plus 301. All Caps is hosting DC United at 8:30. All Caps St. Louis City are even money at a plus 100. DC's a plus 256 on the road. 9:30 Eastern, Colorado and the Houston Dynamo out with the Rapid Prairie Dogs. Rapids are a plus 120. Houston is a plus 233. 10:30 LAFC and Nashville. LAFC is a big favorite at a minus 169 as they are now courting Olivier Giroud. The draw is a plus 312. Nashville is a plus 446 in the composite. Portland and Philadelphia. Portland is a minus 102. Philadelphia is a plus 252 on the road. Your draw is a plus 276. Your late game that Jarrett got to talk about yesterday, San Jose hosting Seattle. San Jose is favored at a plus 162. Your draw is a plus 227. Seattle is a plus 172. That is your action this weekend in Major League Soccer. USL Championship, as we buzz through these, Lou City and Pittsburgh. Bob Lilly is probably still yelling after what happened last week. Lou City at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, a plus 110, hosting Pittsburgh at Lynn Family Stadium. Sacramento's on the road at Indy 11, favored. North Carolina FC, a home dog against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay comes in at a plus 117. Dell's going to be at Patriots Point. Charleston hosting New Mexico United. The Battery are a minus 125. Also on the board, San Antonio's at home. Orange County is at home. Phoenix Rising is at home hosting Oakland. Rhode Island goes from one end of the world to the other to take on Monterey Bay at Cardinal Sunday night at 6. And Monterey Bay is favored at a minus 111. So that gets you through USL Championship. League One, you got a couple of matchups this weekend. Richmond hosting Tormenta, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And Richmond is a plus 146. Pablo Jara, Adrian Billhart get to welcome their former team to City Stadium. Tormenta is a plus 158. Maddie's One Knox is a minus 111 as they host Lex SC at a plus 277. Greenville hosting Forward Madison at a minus 101. MLS Next Pro, reminder, this is your programming reminder, 2:30 pregame on Sunday, 3:03 kick for Atlanta United 2, hosting Carolina Core. Maddie, what was it like to catch up with Core this week?
It was awesome. I mean, I think it's so cool what they're doing up there, with Roy Lassiter and Eddie Pope. They really are trying to build a big community up there, and it's really cool to see. It was a lot of fun getting to talk to them, and I know they're excited about coming up here to Atlanta to come face off, and it'll be interesting to see if we get that road support like they had when they played off against Crown Legacy. It'll be interesting to see if we get a little bit of a split stadium. So I'm excited for that one. That one's going to be fun.
No doubt. It's going to be great to see everybody. So if you are in the neighborhood and maybe as a part of your a doubleheader Sunday, you go to the Fraction to go see Atlanta United 2 and Carolina Core. You can listen to us once again on the Mixler channel, soccer.downhere.mixlr.com. And it's a 2:30 pregame with me and Maddie. Jason has the call starting at 3:03. And we'll have a post-game show after, and we might be able to have post-game comments if I could figure out how to plug in the USB port into my phone so we can actually play the interviews when Maddie sends them to my phone specifically. Jason had no problem playing the post-match interviews last time out. So another home match for Atlanta United 2. Then they have 2 weeks off, if not 3. I think it's 2.5 weeks off for them. So it's going to be some time for Atlanta United 2. So they've got to get full points while everybody else is playing, and they are not. So looking forward to Carolina Core coming to the Fraction and to be able to sit there and be able to listen to everything going on there. So it's like I said, it's going to be fun to have the folks up there at Fifth Third Bank Stadium to perhaps
all the action at the Fraction has been.
Yeah, see Ross Davenport. So Davenport did that last year, and I think that he was listening to our broadcasts. And he found the action at the fraction drop, and he dropped it into a broadcast last season. And so when I heard that, I'm like, oh, yeah, we got to pull that. So definitely very, very worthy of being repeated, and driving people crazy. So, that's just literally how it goes.
I love it. When a plan comes together.
Exactly, Hannibal Smith. So, we did get some new drops, by the way. And I was kind of worried, Maddie, that we might have to do this a lot for Bart when he came in. Just making sure that Bart was, that Bart was okay.
Yeah.
But, I thought that we might have, but when have we ever bleeped anybody? I think the answer.
We were about to earn the explicit rating.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So, we got a busy weekend. And, once again, thanks to everybody for hanging out with us for an entire week. Let me see if I can remember who joined us this week. So, Maddie, who were your 1v1s this week? Who did you catch up with?
Oh, gosh. Roy Lassiter.
Yes.
You
got your high school stuff.
Got my high school stuff. Yes, I got to catch up with Sylvia Reet and Blair Barksdale for both Midtown, girls and boys.
Yep.
And then trying to think who else I caught up with.
Caught up with a lot of folks. But if you missed any of Maddie's 1v1s, or if you missed Soccer's in Session on the high school side, you can go back on the network and listen to all that. Remember, 6 and 8 tonight, Milton and Lambert. It might be raining, but that's not going to stop us. We will not be having the 5 inches of snow that Jason and Mike and Atlanta United are flying into as they get ready for Atlanta United in Toronto tomorrow night, 7:10 kick at BMO Stadium. So Maddie and I will be doing Milton and Lambert. I think, Maddie, you can flip a coin and figure out which one you want to call, and I'll call the other one. So whichever one that you have a preference for, you can go ahead and call whichever match you want. I'll call the other one, and I'll do halftime. I'll do the halftime show for you, and then you can do the halftime show for me. So we'll figure that out in just a little bit. So yeah, does Maddie even know? Maddie knows what this sound is. She knows what that sound is. Come on, man.
I do know what that sound is.
That's a straight bleep. So been a great week. It's been a great week for, let's see. We had Bart on, and to have Bart completely and totally vent, that's always cool. We had Tyler Pilgrim coming on Wednesday. We had Dylan Butler drop by Wednesday. We had Jason drop by yesterday. We had Nico drop by yesterday. We had Michael Parkhurst drop by today. We went through all of and Bart dropped by today. So we talked about anything and everything. Monday, once again, we'll talk about what happened. It'll be a reaction Monday with Atlanta United and with what happened with Toronto. And then that means that Bart will join us as well. And Drew, since it was an off week, if Drew wants to join us, he can. And he can talk about what's going on at Manchester United. And it'll be another fun show. So, Maddie, since we've hit 11 o'clock, it's time for us to go. So if you would please send us home.
Absolutely. I'll leave you all on a Ron Swanson quote. There's never been a sadness that can't be cured by breakfast food. So enjoy that. And much plati, y'all. And we will see you all on Monday.
What she said. Since it's the end of the show, play it safe, everybody. That means we get to do this. Be good. We'll see you in the weekend.